Hey, what's up, everybody? Marcos Villegas for Fight Hub TV, being joined with Tsyzu, who's cruising around in Vegas right now. Very busy day as he gears up in the final stages of his preparation to take on Keith Thurman, making his American pay-per-view debut March 30th on Amazon Prime pay-per-view. Tim, how's this process been for you, man? How would you describe this camp for Keith Thurman?
Yeah, it's just nothing out of the blue, you know. Boxing is it's quite universal. You do the same things over again. You get your road work, your sparring, your game plan. So yeah, just a mixture of things. It's been much busier than usual, but it's one of those things that you just have to adapt to.
Now, when you look at Keith Thurman, I know he likes to sell fights. He'll talk and talk. But do you like him as a person? Like, do you look at him and be like, "Oh, he's a funny guy. I like this guy."
There's not many opponents I can say that about, in all honesty, especially before a fight. Um, But I'd say, like, are we going to be friends after the fight? Probably not. We're just two completely different personalities.
Does he crack you up though? Like with the stuff he says?
Yeah, well, kids are going to be kids, you know. Some of the stuff he says, I'm like, man, it's cringe. Honestly, it's cringe. But each to their own, you know. As long as he's happy about it.
you know, man, there's so much to say about this fight, but is there anything like in particular that's different about this one compared to the other ones?
Oh, in every way, you know. This is like a homecoming type fight for me. Like, this is what dreams are made of. So, you know, you put in that extra bit of work. Everything's a bit more strategic, I guess. No shortcuts. So it means more, you know, because I'm the new block. I'm the new kid on the block, and it's time to take the old guy out.
Mm. You mentioned old guy. Do you feel he's that? What's the right word to say it? Because like in a normal sense, he's not old. In a boxing sense, maybe you can make the argument that he's had a pretty long career. He's fought for a very long time. Like, how much left of Thurman is there compared to his prime, in your opinion?
No, I think he's still got some left in him. I think he's kept himself fresh, you know, so he hasn't been going through heavy punishment in the last 4 years. So I think that will be a little bit in his favor that he's coming in fresh. So I'm hoping it's the best Keith Thurman, but it's just like it's the passing of the torch. So it's a new era now, you know, and it's not mostly the age, it's mostly the era, like where the young kids coming up.
Oh wow, yeah, I've seen a lot of those in the past 16 years of covering this sport. You know, with that being said, like, do you think it's just like what you're putting? It's the new guys coming in. It's a young man sport. You're just too young, too strong, too motivated, too hungry for someone like him.
Yeah, for sure. You know, he's been there, done that. I think the mindset and mind frame is completely different. You know, like the grind is completely different from from what I've been doing in the last 5 years compared to what he's been doing in the last 5 years. You know, and mentality plays a big part in this sport.
Is there, because I've heard this from people, and just your response to this? Keith Thurman is a very accomplished fighter. He's fought a lot of great fights against a lot of very talented guys. There's not enough respect being given to him, and you might be overlooking him given the fact he hasn't been active the last 4 years, but he's still Keith.
Yeah, I no, I'm not overlooking anyone. You know, like I understand the challenge in front of me. You know, he's only lost to Manny Pacquiao, so I can't. You know, like that's one of the greatest of all time. So to be able to get someone like that off on my resume, it's a big thing for me. So no, there is no overlooking anyone in this situation.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and do some fan questions, Tim. We got a lot of people that put in questions for you, and these are always fun because they're not in any particular order
Yeah.
and they're just all over the place. So, Cena Didger 72 ask you, Tim, can you predict what round you will knock out Keith Thurman?
Look, um, I'm I'm not entirely too sure. I'm curious to see what he'll be like. In my mindset, I could catch him nice and early. Also, see how he's like in the later rounds. So it, again, early or late.
But you are confident it ends in a knockout.
I'm going for it. You know, like I'll be look if it comes, it comes. You know, I'm smart. I'm an intelligent fighter. I'll be patient with my shots. I'm not going to go out there and go into a frenzy and try to knock him out. That's not me. But yeah, if it comes, it comes.
Papito 76 Moon 76. Some of these names are so interesting. What makes you think you can beat someone like Thurman, who has by far better performances against better fighters than the ones you have faced so far?
Just a new era, man. New era. Believe in my abilities and my skills, and back yourself no matter what. You know, so it's quite simple.
One Love AJ asks, how do you think a fight between you and Crawford plays out, and in what fashion does it end?
I think it's a cracking fight. He's someone that is a bit smaller, comes from a 140 pounder. You know, so I think my size will be the biggest part in that fight. So, being able to break him down and have someone that he's never faced anyone before with that type of size and strength, that he can't really bully around.
Yeah, they're talking Chris Eubank Jr. for him potentially. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting fight. But again, Chris isn't strong. He's a runner and mover. He's got good skills, but I think Crawford's been in the ring with styles like that.
Jamal Day Night Long 8367 asks, how is your pops
These must
doing?
be fake accounts, right?
No, these are I don't know, man. Some of these, like I said, these names are interesting. But how
Yeah, the
is your
names are cool.
how is your pops doing? Will he be at the fight? And why isn't he in your corner when you fight?
Look, I've got my own team that have been there since day one. My dad has been like a spectator on the side. He lives now in Russia, so I've been fighting out of Australia, so it's been a bit difficult logistically in that way. But if I'm not sure if he's gonna come. Maybe I've heard so. I'm gonna give him a buzz. But yeah, it would be great to see him at the fights.
What has he told you about the fight? Has he given you any advice?
No, not really. My dad only gives me one piece of advice every time, and that's to not get hit. I was like, yeah, easier said than done, right?
Yeah, it's boxing. You're gonna get hit. On piggybacking off this question, Jung L.R. Cure asks, how many times have you seen your dad's knockout of Zab Judah?
On repeat, I guess. I've seen it plenty of times. I remember the commentary, word by word, how it goes, exact timing. It's yeah, it's a big moment.
How old were you? Like, what do you remember from that night?
And I just remember jumping out. I remember my mum and grandparents and everyone were walking around the neighborhood. The whole Australia was stopped. I remember every single person, every single house on the street was watching the fight. It was all silence. And then when that happened, it just yeah, it was a sporting moment I'll never forget in Australia.
How old were you?
How old was I? I was only young, 2002. So what was I? 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy, man. How has your dad influenced you in your style? Like, what have you learned from your dad in terms of, boxing?
In terms of boxing, I wouldn't say too much. I think life young and the way he approached things, I think that's what he taught us more. But in terms of our skills, I think we've adapted it ourselves, and it's hard to copy and paste everything. You know, you write your own pen and you write your own story. So it's up to you about how you want to ride it and the way you ride it.
You know, you must have been growing up. I don't know. Did you consider your dad like this superhero, like in your eyes when he was active?
Exactly right. I think every kid sees their father as a superhero, but when your actual dad is a real life superhero, it's a bit different. So yeah, it was different growing up, and I knew always from young age that there was always something different about that, and always something different about us and our family and the way we were growing up compared to other kids.
Man, that must have been the coolest thing to say. Like Costa Zoo's your dad, bro. Like for reals.
Yeah, yeah.
Continuing with the fan questions. Missile 0331 asks, how many more defenses before he moves up to 160? And do you see yourself fighting at 168 or 175?
Yeah, definitely 160 in the future. 168 for sure. I think 175's maybe pushing it a bit too much, but yeah, eventually, man. I'm not in a rush. Um, I'm making weight still quite fine. So yeah, at the moment we'll just stay at 154.
Goal still undisputed, right? Regardless of what happened with Charlo and all the belt scattering, that still remains the goal.
Right now, the goal is I think the biggest possible fights. Like making that happen. I think that's the goal.
Mm. Moving on here. X Crush Feelings. Ah, this guy, like, feeling he's been hurt before. If you get through Keith Thurman, will you rather fight Jermell Charlo or Terence Crawford next?
Man, that's a tough one, man. I think Jermell for the fact that we've had actually, you know what, Crawford to become like pound for pound type status, but Charlo because we've got history, and unfinished business. So it's two completely different feelings. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
Do you think before your career's done, you will get those two fights?
I don't think Charlo,
Mm.
in my opinion. I think he's up in the fairies right now.
Oh man, yeah, he's out. You know, hey, but you know, maybe he'll come back and you guys will hook up at 160.
I hope, man. I hope. I've been chasing that fight for years now, so hopefully.
I want I want two WS rings. I think he's referring to World Series rings. I ask, and it's kind of along the same lines here. What are the opponents Tim feels he needs to beat before his career is done?
Um, who else is there now? I just want cracking fights, man. Like an Errol Spence fight would be sick. Virgil Ortiz, I've got big respect for him. He's up on the rise. That's another cracking fight. Moving up to 160, even Eubank, people like that. Canelo would be like the ultimate dream, of course. And Charlo.
El Gallo Fino 7906, and you mentioned this name, but he asked, there was a lot of talk about you and Virgil Ortiz. When will you fight Virgil Ortiz?
Man, it's easier said than done, like these fights it takes a bit to make, like there's different promoters, there's different networks. It's complicated, I wish it was back in the old days where everything was one. There's four belts now. There's too many. So oh man, like whatever's the easiest to make, I guess. But hopefully in the near future, me and Virgil will get it on.
Yeah, like because that to me is just a fight of the year type fight that both you guys are going to come out winners regardless of what happens in that fight. I know you're confident you would win that fight, but like regardless, like both your guys' stock is going to raise if you guys fight each other.
Oh, yeah, it would be cracker.
It's a crazy fight, man. I want to see it so bad. Daily Bruce 2 asked, what do you make of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and what's going on with Ryan Garcia?
I don't know, man. I can't really comment on the state of how everything is right now. Like At least me and Keith Thurman is going to be cracker. Let's just say that, it's a legit fight. The other guys, man, I don't know.
Does in your opinion, just knowing boxing, even at 58, does Mike Tyson still knock out a Jake Paul who's like 9-0 or 9-1 in his career?
Tough, man. It's tough. I think I don't know. I can't see it. I can't see it happening. I love Mike Tyson. He's like one of my favorite fighters growing up, but yeah, youth and in your 60s, that's pushing it too much.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling people, but it's so like, I don't know. I feel like nostalgia plays a bit of it too. And just for some reason, like you see these clips of Mike and you think, that's still him. And like, if he just clips Jake, he's going to go down,
Nah, I can't see it happening. I think Jake Paul's he's improved with his boxing. He looks much better than before. He's taken it real serious. He's gone from being like this YouTuber to actually having a crack at it. So it's a young man's sport.
Yeah. And also too, live by the sword, die by the sword. I know what happened to Mike at the end of his career also with Peter McBride and some other fighters, but yeah, it's 27-year-old against a 58-year-old. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you, Tim. It's yeah. Wes Martin, Tim asks, thoughts on Israel Madrimov? A unification fight between you two would be amazing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I'd welcome that with both hands.
Tortuga 8713. Tim, who's your favorite fighter of all time?
Mm. It'd be between Roy Jones or Mike Tyson.
What from them did you incorporate or have tried to incorporate over the years into your own style?
Nothing really. I just love them as fighters. Just the energy they brought into the ring, and the persona. I love Tyson's persona actually.
Goku1921 asks you, Tim, what other fighters besides yourself do you watch as a fan?
Oh, Inoue. I love Inoue.
Hmm.
Um, Lomachenko, Devin Haney. Really enjoy watching him as well. Canelo. And then the heavyweights, the scene, like I remember watching the heavyweights back in the days. It's not the same scene as now. I feel like it's a bit different.
Yeah, you got MMA fighters
But
fighting.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, tell me about it, man.
Yeah. Hey, brutal knockout by AJ. That's supposed to happen though.
It finally like a box like these MMA fighters, they're coming into boxing and they're getting a bit comfortable, and they're actually doing all right. And it was good to no, I wouldn't say good because I like Ngannou,
Yeah.
but it was good to see boxing on top.
It's I don't know, it's just that Fury fight threw so many people off. And I think that's why everyone got comfortable with like, whoa, look how he did with Fury. But this is what, you as a boxer and other boxers have been saying, like an elite boxer in his prime against an MMA fighter in his prime in a boxing ring, that's gonna happen.
Exactly. And it's the same thing for us as boxers. If we move to MMA, the same thing would happen to us. So it's like stay in your own sport.
Very true, Tim. Rounding off these last few questions, one that comes here from a fan. Where to go? I thought this was actually a pretty interesting one. Oh, G Spooky K4ZS. What food do you miss most when you're in camp, Tim?
Ooh, it's a tough one. Probably like pizza, like all the different antipasto, the prosciuttos and the hams and stuff like that. Don't really have much of that. Don't have that at all during camp. So yeah, I've missed that. The
That
paninis.
that week after your fight when it's all done, like, do you just go and binge eat like crazy?
No, not too crazy, but usually we go travel somewhere, so we eat some nice foods from all around the world. So yeah, that's been my life in the last couple of years.
Now that's good, man. Because after my wrestling matches, because I wrestled for like a good 12 years, I pizza was the first thing I'd go to, and I'd attack like a
Oh
full
yeah.
pizza. Yeah, like it was bad because I would just be binging for like the next 3 days
I don't blame
on
you.
junk food. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
uh, Dr. Ruben 310 asks, this is actually kind of interesting one. In your opinion, Tim, what is Thurman's best and worst attribute?
Um, his best attribute would be I think his willingness. I think being able to know how to steal rounds, being able to know exactly what to do in the round just to win it, and then go on to the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then sort of steal the fight. Um, Worst attribute would be he's got a big mouth that doesn't do any favor.
Joyce Who says, given Keith's comments during the press conference about you being flat-footed, quote unquote, Mexican fighter, who is your favorite Mexican fighter?
Oh, I've got plenty. But say Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever asked you about this. How was it watching your dad retire Chavez that night?
I think it was I think a big moment in my father's career because his favorite fighter growing up was Julio Cesar Chavez,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and I remember it was like a crazy moment for him because he's like, I've actually reached the stage where I'm fighting my favorite fighter. So, it was a crazy feeling for him. And to be able to do what he did was crazy as well.
Yeah, I know there was, yeah, talking like fighters like that still have auras. Like he's one of them too. And even when he was later in his career, you think like, hey, that chin, yeah, what happened with Frankie Randall? Maybe that was like a flash thing, but then when your dad put him down, it was like, oh, I think
Yeah,
he's done. Like he's hurt like
yeah,
bad.
yeah. No, that was a like a brutal fight actually.
Yeah, man. And finally, last question. So Erickson Lubin actually left a question there, and I was like, this is not him. And then I checked, and it
Oh
was him. So
yes.
I'm gonna read his response, and you just give me your response. And
Yeah, right.
he says, Marcos, ask him this, and then quote unquote Erickson Lubin's words. Why you lied to the media's saying I turned down the fight or got cold feet when my team were never offered anything. Just say Thurman was the plan, you bozo expletive.
Bro, I was prepping for Erickson Lubin for 7 weeks for a southpaw, and then I get a phone call saying that the Lubin's out, and I had the shits, man. Honestly, I had the shits, and then I think a week later they tell me Thurman's on, so I was like, sweet. There was no plan. There was no plan of Thurman. The whole time I was training for Lubin, 7 weeks of sparring. I flew boys in from like different southpaws from all around Australia. So I was getting ready for him. He didn't make the cut, I guess.
Wait, so I always wondered this too, like random question, but like when you have something like diarrhea, like sparring, like does that like you said you had the shits or
No, no, no.
oh no.
I was saying I had I had the shits about
Oh
when I
man.
got told Lubin got pulled out.
Lost that was
Right?
lost in translation for me,
No,
man. It
yeah,
went
yeah,
over my
yeah.
head.
No, no. I'm saying yeah. I was angry. Let's just say that. Maybe it's Aussie slang. Yeah, I was angry. The fact
Oh man.
that
I'm
Lubin.
sorry, Tim.
Yeah.
Oh geez. I get it. You were extremely mad.
Yeah, mad.
Oh man. Well, Tim, that's all the fan questions we got. Man. So, last words, man. Like, so how do you finish this camp off, man? What do we expect from you on the night of March 30th?
Fireworks, man. Fireworks, cracking fight. I always come to fight, so I always bring that heat. So we'll see if the other side does bring it as well.
All right. Hey, Tim, thank you. Appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully, I get to see you this week. I'll be in Vegas. I'm going to reach out to your team, see if I could just maybe stop by, get a peek at you training. But regardless, I'm always thankful for the time that you share with us over at Fight Hub, and I appreciate it. If you want to go ahead and send one last message out to Thurman or the fans, this is your time, my man.
No, thanks, man. And the message has been sent clear to Thurman. He knows what's coming. So see him soon.
All right, that is Tsyzu. March 30th makes his US pay-per-view debut, taking on Keith Thurman on Amazon PBC pay-per-view. Tim, thank you.
See ya, bro.